Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the iOS dev channel, maxcodes. In this video, we are going to take a look at SwiftUI tutorials, and we're going to create our very first SwiftUI application. This is going to be really easy, and I'm going to show you how to do it step by step. So before you get started, make sure you have Xcode 11 installed. And if you don't, go ahead and check out the video in the description that says Xcode 11 beta installation to get Xcode installed on OS X Mojave. Now, if you're running Catalina already, go ahead and check out the other video in the description that will show you how to do this exact tutorial on the new version of OS X. But if you're still running Mojave and you just have Xcode 11 installed, let's go ahead and get started right now. All right, so you have Xcode 11 installed and you're ready to start using SwiftUI. Let's go ahead and quickly go over each part of this video before we jump into the code, which will take no more than about 15 to 30 seconds. All right, so if you go to this link, which is also in the description, and scroll down to section 1, you'll see that it says create a new project and explore the canvas. That's the first step we'll take. Next, we will customize a text view on the screen. This will be really simple and it's going to have you working with SwiftUI really quickly. Once we've done that, we'll talk a little bit about stacks. Notice I didn't say stack view. This is a new thing in Swift and it's actually really simple and awesome to use. Then we'll take a look at custom image views in SwiftUI. Immediately after using UI image views in this video, we'll take a look at UIKit, MapKit, and using it with SwiftUI. By the end of the video, we'll compose the detail view and use more stacks to kind of get things on the screen the way we want them. And at the very end of this video, we're going to take this quick 4-question quiz. So make sure to pay attention in the video so that we can answer these questions properly. All right, so let's go ahead and hop into section 1. Go ahead and create a new Xcode project and choose single view app. You must have Xcode 11 running to use SwiftUI right here. Now, if you're running Mac OS 10.14 like me, we're not going to be able to see the views like it has in Xcode in this tutorial, but we're still going to be able to go through the tutorial. So don't worry about that. All right, just go ahead and create a new Xcode project and choose use SwiftUI. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call this SwiftUI tutorial. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is hit create. And then I will drag this so you can see it properly. Okay, so if we compile this, we should be able to see it saying hello world on the screen right in the center. All right, you'll see it says hello world. Now, if we go into the code here and we say something like .color, we can put in a color. If I put red and compile this, you'll notice for first thing, it compiles extremely fast, which is awesome. And you'll see it turns red immediately. So let's go ahead and hop into the tutorial page here on Apple just to see what they're doing. All right, so I'm gonna scroll down, and here in section 1, we have them showing you how to create a project if you need that assistance, and then it has some code here. All right, so this is what we see right now, except for we turned it red. Now, this has some canvas stuff on it that we don't really need to read about because we're still running Mojave. Again, if you're running Catalina and you have the canvas available in your Xcode project, feel free to check out the video that I'm uploading later on Catalina on this very same project. All right. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to scroll down a bit more, and we're to section 2 now, okay? So it wants us to customize the text view. You'll see they put font title and color green. Now, when I first saw this, I kind of thought it was a limitation, right? Because if you use like .font and then they only have specific items like title, it doesn't really allow you a lot of customizability, right? But now that I think about it, it's very Apple-esque, right? They like to have things very consistent, right? Now, if you open a lot of apps, they're probably going to be using font title if they're written with SwiftUI, which means things are going to be consistent across more applications, which is actually kind of a good thing. I'm sure there's a way to change the actual size anyway here in SwiftUI, but I know that Apple favors consistency, so that's what I think about that. We can also change the color to green. And one thing I tried was, when I was building it out the first time, was I copied color and was checking to see if it would overwrite it, right? If I put blue here and I compile it, you might think that when it compiles, it might overwrite it with the blue, but it actually stays green from when I checked. Let's see if it still does that. All right, you'll see it's still green. Anyway, not that that matters, just something I noticed. Okay, let's scroll down. So we don't need to worry about this. This is all canvas stuff that we don't have access to yet in Mojave. But right here, they don't change anything still. Let's go ahead and scroll down. Let's take a look at section 3. All right, so combining views using stacks. Now, this is the section I really liked in this tutorial because I really like stacks. I really love UI stack views, so I assumed that it would be very similar. Okay, let's go ahead and scroll down, and we don't need to worry about this because we don't have the canvas, but we can type in the code here, okay? So I'll scroll down, and you'll see that it adds a font to this additional piece of text, which we haven't yet added. So let's go ahead and go to our code and add that. All we have to do is say text, and then add in some more text. Maybe maxcodes.io/courses. I have a free newsletter you can subscribe to on my site if you want to learn everything about Swift news and get everything the day they come out, kind of like this SwiftUI video. Anyway, that's not necessary, but if you're interested, go ahead and visit maxcodes.io. I'll also be making a course on SwiftUI that will be released next week, and you'll be informed of that via email if you join the newsletter. Okay, so you'll see we get an error. I want to go back to the tutorial and see what exactly we did wrong. So it looks like everything's right? But the problem is we haven't really used a stack. We can't just put two of these things together. What we have to do is wrap it in a vertical stack or a horizontal stack. So go ahead and cut that and say VStack and paste it in there and compile your app. And you're gonna see now that it compiles just fine. Okay. Now that looks good, except for it would look a little better if it was like more like the tutorial, right? You'll see in the preview that they have it a little bit better when it comes down to here, okay? But what we can do is give it a title value. So let's go to the text here and let's say .font. And we'll say that this is a sub headline, okay? That will allow us to make it look a little bit more consistent with our application, right? It's gonna be more like a subheading size. Okay, now one thing that they did was they added the VStack alignment, right? In step 5 here, it says, edit the VStack initializer to align views by their leading edges, okay? So you'll see that on line 5 here, they just added the alignment and it changes the alignment of the VStack, okay? So we can simply change this by going into our project. Let me kind of get the beta open here. And let's go ahead and on the VStack, let's write an initializer. You'll see it has alignment and content. We want to choose alignment, and you'll see we get this entire initializer. Don't worry about it. We can get rid of that. Let's just choose the alignment. I'm going to say trailing for now, and I'll change it to leading, but I'm going to get rid of these parameters, and we should be good. Okay, so if you're stuck, just go ahead and pause the video and copy this code in, and you should be good to go. Okay, you'll see it's on the right side, but I want it to be on the left side like in the tutorial. So let's say leading, and it's going to switch back to leading. So you can see how easy SwiftUI really is. It allows us to use things like stack views with ease. Okay, so that's good there. One thing I want to point out is that this tutorial, again, is using the canvas feature that is available in Xcode 11 when you're running it on the new version of Catalina, right? The new version of OS X. You'll see it says command click on Joshua Tree National Park and choose embed in HStack. Unfortunately, again, since we're running on Mojave, we can't do this step, but we can still write all the code for it. The only difference is here, it allows us to generate the code automatically. And I actually really like that because it's kind of like storyboards, but it's not, right? Storyboards doesn't generate any code for you, or at least very much. This will generate all the code for you based on what you're doing in the storyboard or canvas in this case. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to step 7, where we're gonna make our code look a little bit like this. You'll see that it looks like this, except for this is a bit bigger because I've zoomed in. I'm on a really big monitor, like a 4K monitor, so that's why the simulator is so small. But essentially what they have here is they have this California here, which is embedded in its own stack. So let's go ahead and just look at the code because it's probably a little confusing to you right now. We have a VStack, which is containing Turtle Rock with a font. And then within, right next to Turtle Rock, we have another HStack, which is a horizontal stack. And then it has these two things horizontally, okay? So let's go ahead and get that code in there by switching over to Xcode real quick, the beta, and let's type in an HStack, okay? So we want to put maxcodes.io right here in an HStack. So I'll say HStack. Oh, I'm losing my voice. Been recording a lot today. All right, and we have text maxcodes.io, and then we want to add in another text, which is just going to be awesome iOS newsletter free. I don't know, something like that, right? And then I'm gonna head over to right here, see what they put. They put subheadline, so that's about it. So if we go back to Xcode, that should be it. Let's go ahead and let's compile it. I'm just gonna change the wording here. Free iOS newsletter. I haven't sent out very many newsletters yet, so I've actually only sent out one. So if you're new to the newsletter, or you've already subscribed since you're subscribed to my channel, it's likely that you haven't received anything yet from the newsletter, but I'm about to send out some content tomorrow. Okay, so you'll see kind of how that works, but you'll see free iOS newsletter isn't a subheadline. So let's copy that and let's paste it right here. Go ahead and tab that junk and let's compile it. Okay, so while that's compiling, I'm going to switch over here and it should look like the preview you have here. Okay, it's just a bit bigger on the preview and then we have that green color. So I'm going to switch back to Xcode and get rid of the green because I want it to match more of the tutorial and then we should be good. I also really like this feature in Xcode 11. It's kind of like Sublime Text. All right, so there we are. Let's go ahead now and let's scroll down a bit and see what they do. Looks like they added a spacer in step 8. They said to direct the layout with the full width of the device, separate the park and the state by adding a spacer to the horizontal stack holding the two text views. Awesome, I like that. Let's go ahead and do that. This is another thing I really love about stacks is it's super easy to add spacing. Go ahead and type in spacer and you'll see it says a flexible space that blah, 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 blah. You get the point, right? Now, I messed around with spacers before recording this video, and I put one above this text and after this text when I was going through the tutorial myself. And as you can imagine, it will basically center those things a bit better. Now, I don't think that's what they do in the tutorial, so I'll get rid of those 2 spacers I just added in, but I just want to show you what it does so you better understand how spacers work, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. Now, if I get rid of these spacers, say I want hello world to be inset a bit, what we would do is put that around the entire VStack or after the H stack, right? So I'd get rid of that one and put it right here. And then now that's kind of going to contain everything. Now, later in the tutorial, they actually show you a way to do this without using spacers. Let me go ahead and add that outside of there and see if it works. Actually, I don't think this will work because I think it has to be contained within a stack. I think it won't compile. Yep. Or it's going to, yeah, if it does compile, it'll fail, but it'll crash, but it looks like it didn't compile. Anyway, that's what you do. And hopefully that makes sense. But what they show you later on, what I was just saying is they show you how to add padding. So if I go to this VStack and I say .padding, it'll add a default padding of however many points or pixels they use for it. But you can also add in a value by creating a length variable. You see it gives it some padding around it all. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that padding and recompile it so that we're back to what the tutorial is. I'm also going to see if I can choose a new size for the window that's a bit bigger. Okay, I think that's bigger. Let me know in the comments if it wasn't. But you'll see it's a bit bigger now so you can see it better. Okay, that's a lot better. Wish I had done that earlier. Okay, so we're up to speed with the tutorial. Let's go ahead and scroll down and see what else they add. Looks like all of a sudden the padding adds, okay? So they did the padding right after that. I guess that makes sense since they're kind of similar. I'm gonna switch back to Xcode beta and add the padding. One thing I noticed is that they're adding everything like after it, kind of like they're stacked together. Whereas what I did when I added padding just a second ago was I just added it like that. Now, this is what makes more sense to me, but with the syntax of SwiftUI, I would assume that it is more appropriate to put it right here, just from general standards, right, of SwiftUI. Anyway, all I did there was I added the padding and it gave padding around this. Okay, so let's go on. There's a lot more to do, but we'll be done soon. We're now on to section 4 where we're going to create a custom image view. Now, I like this because I really love images and I just love images, right? I take a lot of photos myself. If you follow me on my Instagram accounts, you know that. But let's go ahead and add an image, okay? So first thing we need to do is get this turtle rock PNG. Now, where you can get this PNG, it's at this link again at the top of here in the project files. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up the project files so that you can see what I'm talking about. You'll see that I have this creating and combining views folder and it has resources. Again, you can download that at the top of this link. It says project something. If you don't want to use an image, you don't have to, or if you want to use your own image, you can. It says project files right there. But with my experience, I actually tried using my own image and it didn't work. It was way too big and I couldn't figure out how to constrain it properly. And you'd think by this kind of picture, this animation here, that you would be able to constrain any image size, but it actually didn't allow me to do that for whatever reason. So I would just use the Turtle Rock one for now. Let's go ahead and look at that image and hop over into Xcode and throw it into there, okay? So you'll see I have Turtle Rock here. What you're gonna wanna do is throw it into the assets, the Xcode assets folder. So go ahead and toss that image in there, and then I'll get out of here, and then now we can use this image. Okay, so let's go back to the tutorial and scroll down, and it says, okay, add the project assets. It's in the resources folder that you can download at the top of this article. And then it wants us to create another UI view. So we're gonna create a custom image view with SwiftUI file, okay? So let's go ahead and head over to our project and hit Command-Shift-N to create a new file. Or actually, that's a new project. Command-N should be a new file. Or just hit File New and choose SwiftUI View. Okay, so we've done that, and we wanna call this circle image, I believe. So go ahead and call this circle image. And then that should generate that file, and you'll see all this default code, which is kind of intimidating at first, okay? But let's go to the tutorial and see what they want us to do. Okay, so we've created it, and it says replace the text view with the image of Turtle Rock by using the image initializer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna copy all of this, and I'm gonna head over here, and I'm gonna paste it in here. So if you don't have the website open, feel free to pause the video and just get this code into your circleimage.swift file. Okay, notice how it's using Turtle Rock, and then in the assets folder, we have it named Turtle Rock. Make sure those names line up or it's gonna crash. Okay, so let's head back to the tutorial and see what they want us to do now. You'll see it says step 4, add a call to clip. Okay, so when we scroll, it says clip shape. Apply the circular clipping shape to the image. Okay, so let's go ahead and add that. And let's see what the preview has. Okay, it has that. So I don't remember using this though in the scene delegate or content view, but I imagine we'll do that later on. So what I'm gonna do is say clip shape, and this is gonna be dot circle. And I don't think we need the, or just circle like a class, okay? So go ahead and call that. I don't think we need to use that parameter. I'll head back to the tutorial just to make sure. Okay, there we go. So it's fine like that. Go ahead and make sure your code looks like that, and then we should be good. Now, if you compile it, we're not using it yet, so we'll just have to continue following this and see where they use it. It says create another circle with a gray stroke and then add it as an overlay to give the image a border, okay? Now, here's the deal. I imagine that we would be able to see this if we were on Catalina using the canvas feature, and that's why they don't use it yet. But let's just write in the code and we'll be able to see it by the time that they use it here, by like step 7 or something, okay? So the overlay, let's go ahead and copy that because it's kind of a weird looking line, and I'll just paste it in here. And it looks like for some reason they put it on a new line. I think that looks really strange, especially because that ends there. It would make a little more sense if that was below it, like this. That would make more sense to me, but maybe that's how the syntax is. I'm just gonna get rid of that and put it all in one line, and I'll open this a bit bigger. Okay, so that makes a lot more sense. You can read that a lot easier in my opinion. Okay, so go ahead and feel free to do that. That's how you add an overlay, and if we command click and hit show quick help, you'll see that it looks like it's going off the screen, but it says layers a secondary view in front of this view. So that's really interesting. Now, you can't see this and I can't zoom into it, but command clicking onto classes and methods like this in Swift and Xcode is a really awesome way of learning how to code, and I highly encourage it. Okay, so now they want a shadow with a radius of 10. Notice how that just popped in. Let's go back to the Xcode project and let's add that in by saying dot shadow. And then let's say 10, okay? Now that's good, compile it. It's not really gonna do anything, but it's really easy to use. It's actually like extremely easy to use, but let's just follow the tutorial instead of getting ahead of it because I don't wanna mess any of you all up. Okay, so switch the border color to white. Okay, so they want it to be white now for whatever reason. Let's go ahead and switch the border color to color.white. That's kind of weird that it doesn't use UI color. I wonder why, like, they must have just really wanted this framework to be really clean. But they actually use UIKit with it by the end of the tutorial. How can I not get to Chrome? Okay, this completes the image view. Okay, so this is what it's gonna look like when we use it. That's actually super simple. That's kind of crazy. Okay, so let's scroll down and see what they do. Okay, so use UIKit and Swift views together. Okay, so it wants us to create another MapKit view. Let's go ahead and do that in a second. I actually want to show the image on the screen. It says compose the detail view. In the project navigator, select the content view Swift file. So it's going to have us use it all. Let's just follow the plan still and do that in a second. So for now, what we're going to do is we are going to create a new file, and we're going to call this file map view. Okay. I'm also going to copy this entire thing and paste it in there once I've created it. So again, I'm on step 2 of section 5. Let's go ahead and hop over to our editor and create a new file in the SwiftUI tutorial. And I'm going to hit SwiftUI view, and I'm going to call this MapKit. And then I will paste this all in here. I wonder why they don't have the debug statements. Okay, so go ahead and make a file called mapkit.swift and paste this in here. Okay, so it says UI view representable requires type some view and never be equivalent. Interesting. I'm going to compile this and see what happens. Looks like it doesn't compile. Let's head back to here. Looks like we have struct MapKit. We're importing MapKit. It probably just needs us to use a specific piece of code. Okay, so it wants us to use this in step 3, that make UI view. Let's read that. It says replace a body property with a UI view context method that creates and returns an empty MK map view. Okay, and then we're probably going to have to add in this delegate method. I didn't actually read all of this when I was going through it. We're going to have to use this delegate method to actually use MapKit appropriately. So I assume if we paste this in here over that and compile this, it's going to crash. Okay, yeah, it didn't work. I thought it would open, compile, and then crash, but it just said use these protocol stubs. So I'm going to hit fix on this, and it's going to give us this. I'm going to get rid of that and hit the top one because it looked different. And from what I remember, they actually have it a little bit different. Looks like you can probably name these the way you want. So I'm going to copy this update UI view method and paste it in here over this update UI view method. You'll see the view and context have smaller parameters. Okay, so we're getting a coordinate, CL location coordinate 2D. I also made an entire MapKit course that just reminded me. I was not planning on plugging that course in this video, but if you want to learn everything about MapKit, that's in the description or on my website. So you'll learn all about CL location coordinates. And anyway, let's talk about SwiftUI now. Okay, so it's simply just setting it up. Don't really need to worry about that. But what I want to point out is that this is a delegate method. So I don't know if we're going to be able to use UI table views within like SwiftUI or whatever. But I assume if we were, this is like where one of the delegate methods would belong, like, or the data source methods like self or OAT. Anyway, let's go ahead and scroll down. And what we're going to want to do is go to section 6 because we now have that set up and we just kind of need to use it all together within our content view.swift. So we have all of our components, we have our circle, and then we have our map view. All we need to do really now is kind of touch things up and show them on the screen. So in about 2 minutes, you're going to see this in your own application. Well, with the image. I don't know why it's not appearing. So what we're going to do is scroll down here to step 2. And what we're going to do is add in a VStack. So embed a VStack that holds the 3 text views in another VStack. So it looks like SwiftUI really loves VStacks apparently. So let's go to our project and let's go to content view.swift. And from what I remember, it just wants us to wrap everything in another VStack. So let's cut this all out and say VStack and paste it in there. Okay, so that looks good. I'm getting a little thrown off by the syntax here. Maybe that's supposed to be back. Okay. I'm new to this too, by the way, just letting you know. This is kind of I should have live streamed this, really. That would have been kind of fun. Okay, so we have that. Nothing happened, which is what is expected. But now what we can do is add in more items because we're using a VStack. And if you remember, you have to have a VStack around any items you have. Very, very similar to React and how you have to return divs within divs. This is so much like web development, I just realized. Okay, and Flutter. Wow. Okay, so what we're gonna wanna do is add in the map view. Notice how it's only like this one line of code. Well, technically 2, but technically one. Let's go ahead and use that. So we want to say in our VStack map view, and then just say dot width is 300. I believe that's what the line said. Okay, frame. So we want to say frame, and the width will be, was it width or height? It was height. So we'll get rid of the width, and for height, we'll put 300, and alignment, we'll get rid of that. And then now, since it's within a VStack, remember, we can compile it and it will work. If we took away that VStack, it wouldn't work because it would be 2 elements, not 1. Okay, so that looks great. Let's go ahead and head back to Chrome and see what they want next. I'm going to scroll down to 4. Let's see what appears. Circle image, okay? So let's go to our code and let's just add in the circle image below our map view. We'll say circle image. And let's compile that and see what exactly it gives us. Now, if you're using a large photo, like I was when I was first going through this, it's probably going to take up the entire screen. But if you're using the correct one, it should be fine. Feel free to do whatever you want, though. This is just a tutorial. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down to step 6, and you'll notice offset Y and padding bottom appear. To layer the image view on top of the map view, give the image an offset of -130 points vertically and a padding of -130 from the bottom view. So I'm going to look back at the code. You'll see that we want this to be up top, or the simulator. We want this to be over the map view, right? So we can do this by adding these 2 parameters, offset and padding. So let's go to our code here, and on circle image, let's say dot offset. I believe it was -130. Let's head back to Chrome and see. It was Y of -30. That makes sense. So Y of -30. And let's compile this and see if it works. And then that should just pull it up -130 on the Y axis. Okay, but what else was that last parameter? It looks like it was a padding of -130 from the bottom of the view. I wonder why that's added in. Let's go ahead and try adding that in. Let's say dot padding. Okay, so padding from the bottom, -130. I'm going to quickly compile this and switch over to the simulator. Okay. Okay, so it looks like it just kind of insetted everything a little bit. Interesting. Okay, so let's go ahead and head back to the code in the browser and see what they want to do next. Okay, so step 7, add a spacer to the bottom. Let's go ahead and see what that is. Okay, so they want a spacer at the bottom. Let's go ahead and take a look at that in the code. That spacer belongs, let's see, where did it go? Right below the padding. So right here. Again, I'm going to quickly compile this and hop over to the simulator so that I can see what it does. Okay, awesome. It booted us up a bit. Now the next thing we need to do is get rid of this white space up here. So let's go back to Chrome. And this is finally, to allow the map content to extend to the top of the edge of the screen, add the edges ignoring safe area top modifier to the top of the map view. Okay, so that's in map view. So let's go ahead and add that by going back to our code and saying edges ignoring safe area, and we'll say dot top. So we want to get rid of that top safe area, which should put our map view closer, if not all the way to the top of our screen. Okay, so it's all the way to the top. Everything looks fantastic. I'm going to head back to Chrome and see what they want us to do next. Okay, so that's it. So let's go ahead and quickly check our understanding with this quiz. When creating a custom SwiftUI view, where do you declare the view's layout? Go ahead and drop a comment to each of these questions to what you put initially, just so I can see kind of who got them all right initially the first time. Let me know what your score is, or you can just follow along with me and see what I get. So what do we want to use when declaring the view's layout? Layout subviews? Nope. Not a view's initializer in the body property. Go ahead and submit that. Custom views implement the body property, which is a requirement of the view protocol. Ooh, view protocol. Okay, hit next question. Which layout renders the following view code? Okay, so it looks like we're going to be dealing with stacks here. Now, first thing I want to look at is the H stack. Okay, so horizontal. Everything's going to be horizontal, which means it's either going to be this one or this one. Okay, let's go look here. Circle image is first, and then the vertical stack with Turtle Rock and Joshua Tree National Park are next, which means it has to be this last one. So go ahead and hit submit. And that's right. The nested horizontal and vertical stacks arrange the image to the left of the 2 text views. Okay, next question. Which of these is a correct way to return 3 views from a custom view's body property? All right, so it's obviously the VStack, because if you noticed in this tutorial, we use VStacks to return everything. So choose VStack and hit submit. You can use a stack to return multiple uses from a body property. So similar to like React when you wrap everything in like a div. Okay, let's hit next question. Which is the correct way? Obviously not that. That's like by default. Obviously not that. It's this bottom one. Hit submit. Okay, hit next. And great. We're good. Go ahead and let me know what you got on that quiz, which ones you got wrong, and I'll reply to all your comments. All right, so that's it for this video. I really hope you learned something about SwiftUI, and I really hope you look forward to learning more SwiftUI on my channel like I do. So go ahead and leave a like and subscribe, and drop a comment as always, and I'll see you guys in the very next video. Catch you later.